Oh, hello again, and welcome to the VK6CS amateur radio channel. I've cut a hole in the bottom of my peg box, and I've mounted the GS-35B base. I've just plopped it on there basically and sealed it with masking tape. Just to check the airflow. I've got the box is mounted on an airspace capacitor. Basically because there's a fan under here, and I just wanted some sort of structure here that wouldn't impede the airflow up through the box, because the idea of this is, before I proceed with this design, I want to see if there's enough air going through the valve with the fan that I've got. Now supposedly the fan is 87 cubic feet a minute. The valve requires 83 cubic feet a minute according to the specification I've read, so the fan should be enough. So just before I do any further work with mounting this on here permanently, painting this box black, putting the right angled aluminium on the bottom there to raise the box up to a sufficient level to clear the fan. I decided to do that rather than raise the valve base out at the top of the box. I'll just use aluminium angle, and I'll raise the box up off the chassis by the required amount so that the bottom of this valve base will clear the fan. I'll show you the inside of that later on, but not on this particular video. I've refurbished the valve base. It's got I've taken all the old screws and the old screws off of it and replaced them with new ones, and the the old solder tags, which were sort of tarnished and used, and I've put nice new bolts and new solder tags on the valve base, so that's all looking good. There's one there as well, because this actually will actually make the anode connection once this is pushed into the socket. I'm not sure whether I'll use that yet, or whether I'll use a ring around the top of the valve, but I'll have a look at it later on and see what I think. I haven't quite decided. Alright, so let's power it up. Let's power up the fan. Let's power up the fan. So let's see what sort of airflow we get through the valve. That doesn't look too bad actually. I think that's that may be sufficient to cool it. So that supposedly is, it's an 87 cubic feet a minute fan. The valve requires 83 cubic feet, so maybe that will be good enough to keep it nice and cool. I mean, I can feel quite a reasonable amount of air coming through the valve. I've read conflicting information about these. Some people say, well, what the hell, run them hot. I don't really want to do that. I want to run the thing within specification. Yeah, and I've seen some videos where there's quite a lot of air going through these things, very noisy blowers and stuff like that. This is just a radial fan that I bought, that I thought, well, if it's going to do 87 cubic feet a minute, it should be plenty good enough. As I say, there's a decent amount of air coming through that, so maybe that will be enough. I'll have a think about that, and maybe do a little more googling, look at a bit more stuff on YouTube, and then take it from there. As you can see, the actual peg box as an airbox design seems to work quite well. Once that was painted black and the valve base is screwed on there, I actually did it I didn't get a hole saw, I did it the hard way. I drilled a row of holes and then knocked it out, and then filed a round hole and then dropped that in. I'll show you the inside of that later on. If you're, well, I'll show you the inside of it later on. whether you're interested or not, come to think of it. And you can see it's a fairly neat hole. This is the bit that that's the bit that came out of it. So yeah, just drilled a circle of holes, and then use some cutters just to cut it off, get that out, and then just fold the hole round. So I thought before I finish that off, and you know, just make that, the hole is actually pretty good as it is. Just a little bit more tidying up. Bolt that on there. Paint this box black. I thought I'd just try this experiment. But yeah, I think that may be okay. So there's the GS-35B sitting in the Russian holder. That's a great holder, that. Mounted on the mounted in the airbox. The fan under there, sucking the air in. So I hope you found that interesting, or informative, or both, as usual. Many thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.